Hey, today we're going to take a look at a pretty neat thing that I bought several years ago. Hard for me to believe, nearly 21 years ago. And it has been a lot of fun to own. And I just thought I'd do a video on it because some of you may be interested in it. We're going to look at my M10 submachine guns made by Military Armaments Corp. And I think mine was made in 71 or 72. One of the first ones from Powder Springs, Georgia. We're gonna do a reverse unboxing, we'll say, because obviously it's been out of the box for years, but I do still have the original box. If that sounds like something you want to take a look at, hang around. That's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is the box. Now, obviously, these things are always a lot heavier than they seem. But this is the original box. If you will look, kind of use a finger covering up the last three of my serial number, but you'll see a date of manufacture on there. Do you see that? This one is August 24th, 1971. You notice no fancy box, no styrofoam lining. I will show you how this thing came. It came in a vacuum sealed. Yes, it was unfired when I bought it, by the way. It came in a vacuum sealed plastic bag covered with cosmoline. You can still see the old cosmoline inside the bag. And I opened it up and took it out, and it was so pristine at that moment. Yeah, the parkerized finish, when I got it cleaned off, it actually had sparkle to it. Very nice. Not so much sparkle anymore, but this is what came in the box, along with the telescoping wire stock, which, as some of you know, is notorious for not being good for anything, basically. And show you if I can get them in the right light. Do you see there? Military Armaments Corp. Powder Springs, Georgia. M10. Get my glasses, which I did remember to bring today. It says Ingram M10 caliber 9mm PAR. Military Armament Corp. Powder Springs, Georgia, USA. For those of you not familiar with how this works, this is the safe. It is on the right side of the gun, right beside the front of the trigger guard. Obviously, if the bolt lock is open and you put it on safe, the trigger will not release the bolt. If you put it on on fire, that's how it fires. The whole bolt moves forward. It has actually, this is an early one, so it doesn't have a machined in firing pin. This one actually has a replaceable firing pin in it. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute. It also has a feature where you can keep the bolt from being opened by twisting this charging handle, and that locks the bolt closed. I'm going to open the bolt again. I will show you that on this side is your selector. This is now pointing to full, and you flip it this way to go to semi. And of course, nobody wants semi, do they? That's no fun. The cool thing about this, the serial number, which is right here. When I bought this as a set. See that? I guess I could cover up that serial number. It doesn't really matter because I got the paperwork and it's in my name. So if you get caught with this, if someone else gets caught with this, they're in pretty big trouble anyway. So it's I really don't care if you see the serial number. But inside this, we have the psionic suppressor designed by former CIA agent, the late Mitch Werbel. He is the one who designed these suppressors. I still have the original two-piece neoprene cover that goes on it. It's a matching serial number with my gun, so they came as a matched set. I bought this in 2003, unfired, from a pretty cool gun guy that lived in Franklin, Tennessee. And I won't say his name on here for his privacy, but he was a pretty extensive military collector. And he was getting of an age where he thought he needed to unload some stuff to make it easier on his family when his time here was done. So, believe it or not, y'all, he had bought a dozen of these with the suppressor, a dozen in 9mm, which this one is, and a dozen in .45 caliber with their suppressors, and I believe a dozen in .380 with their suppressors. And he had bought them in the late 70s when Mac was selling out to RPB, and he bought basically what they call flats. He bought 3 flats, one in .380, one in 9mm, and one in .45 caliber. And each one had a dozen guns and a dozen suppressors on the flat. And he had a couple that he took out at one of each example that he had out and that he had fired. The rest of them were just as they shipped, except for one time he said he was checked by the ATF. And he made sure that they could re-vacuum seal and reseal all the bags when they cut them open to do the serial number check. They agreed to do so on the ones that they checked. I don't think they checked them all, but they just wanted to do a spot check. Of course, he was a very well organized guy, and I don't know that mine had ever been opened and resealed. I don't think it had. And he was looking to get rid of them, and boy, looking back, I wish it was a good deal back then, but it would be a super deal now. I never had any aspirations to own a machine gun, but this was one of those deals where it was kind of, you know, made me a deal too good to refuse, literally. And me and a buddy of mine, and we each bought one. We had a really reputable Class 3 dealer do the transfer for us. And if you've watched History Channel any on different types of firearms, you've probably seen that dealer that we used. I won't say his name either because I don't have permission, so I'm not going to. But very reputable dealer to do the transfer. And boy, back in those days, it didn't take long. I actually got my completed, signed, and canceled tax stamps back for the gun and the suppressor before my buddy got his paperwork signed by the chief law enforcement officer in Metro Nashville, because back in those days you had to get a chief law enforcement officer to sign that he was aware that you were buying these, and that he knew of no reason not to allow the ATF to let this come into your possession. So I actually got my paperwork back in about 6 weeks, I think. And that shows you how long ago that was. Weren't many people in the business of buying suppressors and machine guns then. It was a very small knit community. I got friends that have been in it longer than me, and they know people all over the country who are collectors. And getting to the age now where some of those collectors are dying and their collections are going up for sale. I have thought a time or two about selling this one, but because they've gone up so much in value. But to be honest, they're just going to keep going up in value. So if my family elects to sell it when I'm gone, they can. I'm going to just consider it a part of the estate. And yes, you can transfer full automatics as part of your estate, and they can do one transfer for no charge to one heir. So not a really big deal. It's fun to shoot. It's one of those things. When I first got it, I got very good with it. I think at about 20 yards, I could hold myself to about a 4 or 5 round burst and keep them all in the head of an IDPA target at about 20 yards, and which is pretty tough with an open bolt gun. But man, this thing is so heavy that it recoil is not very profound if you will mount this to your shoulder like you're supposed to and not shoot it, you know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now this thing, some people lean these down and put them like under their armpit. Some people tip them up like that and put them on their shoulder. Of course, they have a tendency to slide out if you do that. But very high cyclic rate. I'm not going to shoot this today. You can look back on my channel and you can see a bunch of different people shooting this gun. I mean, it's been a part of my family for 21 years. So anytime we have family in, or a family friend comes by and I find out that they've never shot it or never shot a machine gun, I remedy that quickly. I let them shoot this one. These are known for being very reliable and very tough, man. These things are on the internet that have been shot a million times, you know. They do have some issues when you shoot them a lot, and there are some simple repairs that can be done. You can still buy complete uppers that fit these perfectly. You can buy, who is it, Lodge now, that's making an upper that moves your magazine out here. You use your lower, and you got a caliber selection. You can use this full auto lower on almost any caliber you can think of, and have a full auto in that caliber. I think it's I know I've seen a 223. I know I have seen a 22 caliber conversion. I know I've seen conversion kits where you can put the Suomi 72 round mags in there. Because they are the most affordable. I don't know about the Power Springs or the Powder Springs model, because they tend to be worth a little more than the SWDs or the RPB guns, but they're still by far the cheapest full auto that you can get into. So if you want to have a machine gun, your starting place is probably going to be a Mac 10 or a Mac 11.9. the MAC-10, of course. The M10 comes in 45 caliber and 9mm. They're pretty much the same size gun. They're the same gun. The only difference, of course, is the magazine well. As for the magazine, you got one magazine with it. And I think, y'all don't quote me on this, it's been a long time since I topped it off, but I think it's 36 rounds, maybe 32. But it's stamped at the bottom, MP9. This is the only thing that came blue. Everything else was Parkerized. It also came with this nylon strap that straps right on here. And you know, people, so you could run your hand through here and keep from maybe shooting your finger off. But you know what, I never used it, and I always tell people when they shoot this gun to hold it like they do any other pistol. Make sure your hands are touching. That way you never get up here and flash your hand with the muzzle. Early on, I didn't like this wire stock, so I had a dear friend of mine make me this adapter that I could thread in a buffer tube and put a collapsible AR-15 stock on it. So that's generally the way I do it now. I figure it's way more stable and thus makes it more safe to shoot and easier to shoot more accurately, and pretty neat little package still with this on here. The suppressor, of course, I don't have the neoprene on it, but it does get warm. This is a 2-stage psionic suppressor. Believe it or not, in this first stage are combat boot lace eyelets, the little brass eyelets. There's a perforated tube that goes all the way through, and then this thing is full of those little brass eyelets, and you can hear them rattle if you shake it good. It breaks up the gas going through those little eyelets, breaks up the gas and slows it down, slows the velocity of the gas down. Then when it hits this second stage, it is a spiraled cone that comes all the way down to here. Now originally this had a wipe in it. It does not have the wipe anymore, to be quite honest. The first shot I fired with this, the wipe had gotten dry rotted and blew right out of there. I still have the washer in here, the spacer that held it in place. Look at there how dirty that suppressor is. I need to clean that, don't I? And but still, it's just amazing how quiet it quiets this down if you're using a 147 grain bullet. Now there are currently available some really nice subsonic offerings in the 168 grain range, and they are really quiet, and it slows the cyclic rate down immensely. I'd say probably about to 850, 900 rounds a minute. And you say, wow, that's still a lot. It's a lot, but I am telling you, with 115 grain 9mm ammo in this thing, I can empty this 36 round magazine in like 1.8 seconds. So and you know, controllability, I'm a big guy, so yeah, I can hold them all in a BC target at 20 yards when I dump a mag, but boy, not everybody can, because it really tries to climb on you. But you get the suppressor on here where you can actually hold forward of the this stuff has been folded up, so it's a little compressed in spots, but it's in really good shape considering. Uh, yeah, you get it where you can hold out here and mount this on your shoulder with this good stock, get a good cheek well, and you'd be surprised. I went to machine gun shoot in Camden, Tennessee one year, and it was on the ATS range, the Automated Target Systems range in Camden. And you know, those targets would indicate a hit by dropping. They would fall when you hit them. And I was blowing their mind because I was shooting like 4 and 5 round bursts and hitting man-sized targets out to 200 and 300 yards with this. You know, you get your holdover right, you send a little burst, and you'd be amazed. And they were man-sized, military-type plastic backer targets that would lay down when you hit them. And I was laying them down pretty regular. And that was when I first got it, you know. When you first get them, you're really into them. You're shooting them a lot. You think they're the coolest thing ever. And then after you've had them a while, it's like, yeah, I got a machine gun in there. It becomes where it's not really a big deal. And like I say, unless you have friends that have never shot one, or family that have never shot one and want to, you know, that's about the only time I drag it out now. Now, I was reminded the other day that my nephew had never shot this. Of course, I make sure a kid is old enough and gun savvy enough before I let them shoot it. So my kids were probably, 12, 13 years old before I let them shoot it. At least without me like standing right there over them helping them hold. And I found out the other day that my nephew had never shot it. I'm like, well, geez, we got to remedy that. So, and I just thought I'd get it out and do a video on it. I will tell you that, I also got the famous Mac cleaning rod. Just a little metal cleaning rod that also came with them. I have found finally a good source for aftermarket mags. I had bought some through the years that really not very good magazines, and sometimes you had to tweak the magazine lips and do this or do that. And a couple of years ago, a buddy sent me a source from a new maker, and I'm telling you, they're identical to this mag, except instead of being blued, they're parkerized, which I think is cool because the gun is parkerized. So, and I bought several of those. They fit like a glove and they run like a top. And if I can remember who I got them from, I'll put it in a link down below, because I found me to be much better than any other mags that I have bought to try to preserve the original mag. I believe, and I may be wrong, y'all can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe these were made by Walther originally. And very good mag, very reliable mag, metal follower. And these new ones, they're the same way. They're a metal follower. Like I say, everything to me looks exactly the same. I think they're about a ½ inch longer, and they're parked instead of blued, but they run like a top. So, trying to think of anything else. I usually don't keep this factory neoprene on here. I have a modern one piece that I'm going to wrestle back on here when I get rid of this, but I just thought maybe you'd like to see it. A lot of folks don't get the opportunity to see them and see how they run, and I do want to show you how simple they were, because part of the charm of these submachine guns is that when at the height of their popularity, when I guess the CIA probably bought more of these than any military branch. I know that the Navy SEALs did try them for a while and liked them until they discovered the HK MP5, and then they just let these sit in the foot locker, you know, because the HK MP5 was so much more controllable, had a cyclic rate of about 650. I do know that these now, they are making tungsten, I believe it is, bolt carriers that, believe it or not, though they're the same size, they're almost a pound heavier, and it slows the cyclic rate down to about 650. So there are ways out there you can get a cyclic rate down to something that doesn't spit out a river of brass and send you the poorhouse in double time buying ammo. He's like, but I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to change my camera angle. I want you to see the simplicity of how these things work. They are, when this was bought, he gave $200 each for the pair. That means the submachine gun and the suppressor, $200. And then he had to pay a $200 tax on the gun and a $200 tax on the suppressor. So you can see why not a lot of these were purchased. The tax was actually punitive, and it was intended to be. The tax was intended to be punitive. I heard the reason they chose $200 in the National Firearms Act of 1934 is because that's what a Thompson submachine gun cost, postpaid, delivered to your door, $200. So they're like, hey, let's make the tax $200. So that made it sufficiently. Let me put it this way: if you bought a Thompson in 1934 for $200 and paid the $200 tax, you could have had a brand new Model T. If that puts that into perspective for you. And it basically ensured that only bootleggers and gangsters are the ones that could afford the Thompsons being delivered to their door. So I'm going to change this camera angle, come back, and I'm going to pull it apart and show you how they work, and let you see how extremely simple these things were. And it's easy to see why they were so reliable, because there's just not a whole lot going on in here. The bolt is heavy and massive, which you'll see, and I'll be right back in a second. Let me change that camera angle. Okay, we're settled back in here with the Mac. Magazine out, action open. I'm gonna show you how to dismantle it. There's a little latch right here that is spring loaded, you see. So you pull this latch down and you can push the pin in. Of course, you want to get it where you'll see in a minute why the pin kind of pauses right here. It's cut, got a cut in the middle of it so that it stops. That little spring-loaded latch. Now let's take that out. Let's go ahead and take a look at the upper first. The upper is this massive bolt that runs back and forth. Now the way you get that out is you bring this back. There's a relief all the way back here. Now when this gun is put together, you can't pull the bolt handle back this far, but when it's out of the lower, you just pull that out and give it a little twist. This is the bolt, and this thing, I don't have my scales with me, but I'm gonna guess it weighs darn near a pound. Pretty hefty. This is the upper, and you can see that the upper has the barrel mounted. There's actually a pin here. There's a relief that if you drive this pin out, you can actually, this barrel unscrews from this block, okay? And so people, you know, are amazed when they realize this thing has darn near 6-inch barrel, because it looks like a little bitty stubby barrel, but actually this thing is rifled from here all the way forward, so you got a 5.5, 6-inch barrel. So these things are capable of accuracy. If you're capable of firing a gun from an open bolt with a 1-pound bolt slamming home, these are capable of decent accuracy. And so, like I say, it's dirty. I was about to clean it, which is why I thought it'd be a good time to go ahead and make this video. But that's pretty much it. This thing, this upper is stamped sheet metal, and the sight, very rudimentary. It's actually a screw. Now later they had other designs, but this is just a screw with a little nib soldered onto it. I don't think it's machined onto it. I believe it would be soldered onto it. And that's the way that thing works. This has a rubber buffer pad right here. And believe it or not, this is the original. And it's still flexible. Which means that, first of all, it means that I probably should change it. Second of all, it means that it was, this gun has been stored right and has not been abused. I don't know how many rounds I've shot through this gun. I'd say more than a couple thousand, not more than 5,000 would be my guess. This is the lower. Very simple. This is where, can you see this right here is where the bolt catches when you fire it to hold it open. I now have it in full automatic. So if you hold the trigger down, the bolt just keeps sliding and sliding. You release the trigger, this sticks up and catches the bolt and holds it open. Very simple. If you want it in semi, you flip it over here to semi. Watch what happens when I pull the trigger and the bolt comes rearward. There's a notch cut out that this bolt, this little part will set in when the gun is ready to fire. You pull the trigger, the bolt passes over this, and you see that disconnector just disconnected that trigger. So this comes up, the bolt comes back into place, this is in position, you release the trigger and pull it again. See? So that's how they make it semi-auto. So very, very simple. And the reason it's that simple is because it fires from an open bolt. Now, believe it or not, this is the feed ramp. Isn't that a wild looking feed ramp? You can see where the bullet tips hit here. And you can see how little this gun has been fired, because obviously if it had been fired a lot more, there would be some, you know, some little dips getting worn into that feed ramp. But like I say, I haven't shot 5,000 rounds through it. I'd be willing to bet on that. But there's where the bullet tips hit. It is, the later guns were made to fire from a single feed. But these early guns, the mags were double. So you'd have one bullet that sat on this side and one bullet that sat on this side. A lot of the newer guns, the SWDs especially, had what they call single feed mags, which would be more like a pistol mag that would come up and kind of go together here so that there's just one round sticking up out of the top, showing at the top. This is more like an AR-15 magazine. So you can see 2 rounds in here when you've got this magazine loaded up. You'll see the first one and then the second one. And but these guns were so crazy simple. And of course the folding stock, which, like I say, you know, it's not much punking. But the folding stock slides right in here, and you can extend it. This release, you can extend it, and you can hear it click in. And you can do whatever you want to with this end just by squeezing these handles together. And that lets you change the position. You can hear it lock into place whenever you get to a position. Most people, when you see them used in the movies, they close this and they just collapse them right over the top of the gun and just use them like this, which is very difficult to hit anything without any shoulder support. But that's the way this thing works. And you got to put, I'm glad I thought about it, you got to put this back in before you get it back together. There you go. You can lock this thing open if you have a need. I don't know why you'd have a need, but you can also lock it closed by turning it cross-bolt. And you know that it's closed when you throw it up your eye and you can't see your front sight, because these are cut away for your sight channel. I don't know if I can get it up to the camera good enough where you can see, but that charging handle is cut away to allow you to sight from your peep sight, which is right here, down through the top of the charging handle, and you got to put the back in first. Now you got to make that pin line up again to get it started. Very heavy pin and very tight fit, which also shows that this gun hasn't been shot a lot, because sometimes with a lot of firing, these guns, these pins get a little sloppy and that hole gets a little egg-shaped. And don't worry, there's plenty of people around that service these guns and sell parts for these guns, and there will always be parts available for these, because, like I say, they're so popular. And when SWD, when the machine gun ban was coming in 1986, SWD stepped up production, and I think they made like 80,000 of these things in that year alone, in '86. So, and the reason they did it is because they knew transferable machine guns were going to get very popular, and they are. Forbes now says that transferable machine guns is a better investment than real estate. So see if I have any more luck getting it in from this side. So here's the kicker. I had the wire stock in. It's a whole lot tougher to get everything to line up with the wire stock in. So really, all you got to do is hold back on that latch and give it a little push. Without this being in, I didn't even realize I had it in till about 10 minutes into the process. That's it. Let's put it on full auto. Oh yeah, ready to rock. Let's put it on semi. Oh yeah. Hey, I appreciate you guys showing up and watching. If this stuff interests you at all, you can subscribe, click the notifications, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you for coming by.